right. Dr. Cameron is the Dean of Natural Science and a professor of computer science at UNCA. After earning her bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics from Birmingham Southern College, she went on to earn both her master's degree and PhD in computer science from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. She has worked at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center and her alma mater, Birmingham Southern College, earning tenure there before joining the faculty at UNCA in 2011. She's been recognized here for her efforts, having earned the Distinguished Teacher Award, the Alumni Distinguished Faculty Award, Distinguished Service Award, and the Award for Teaching Excellence in the Natural Sciences. Welcome, Dr. Marietta Cameron.
Thank you, Ellen, and I'm so happy, always happy to come and speak with students because I enjoy teaching. Okay, I enjoy being with my students. I'm happy that my student Jazz from my AI class decided to come and join us, and I'm very happy to have my husband in the back. Shout out to him in the back there. Always happy to be able to talk about my area, artificial intelligence, and maybe not so happy to talk about some of the issues that are there, but issues need to be addressed. So title, you can see it here, artificial intelligence and algorithmic bias. And I just want to say that this could have been named technology and algorithmic bias, because the bias has always been there. It's not just in technologies that are now dubbed AI, okay? One of the things that I share with my students all the time is whatever you create, whatever you produce, your value system, who you are, is part of that, okay? Whether it's software, whether it's some engineering project that you've been working with, whether it's poems that you write, stories that you write, whether it's a mathematical proof that you're doing, your value system is in that creation. Okay? And I think it would do well for us to remember that it doesn't matter whether it's intentional or not, what you value, what you don't value comes out. Okay? So moving on here, and you're going to have to bear with me because I think Jazz knows this about me. Anybody that's taken my class knows that I am very long-winded, okay? And usually I go up to the time. I usually have to have someone to say, I could be like my minister father and say, you know, I'm going to be here as long as the Spirit moves me. But I do respect your time. So some of the slides, I will make sure that the slide deck is available to you so that I can quickly go through and you on your own time can look at some of the links. I think you will find very interesting material with that and probably would be very much interested in engaging with that. So there's some of the slides that I will just breeze through because I do want to get to your questions. And of course, you can feel free to put at 45 minutes, you can feel free to do the little time. Okay? So you all have note cards that I have given you, and they're bright orange because it's late and we want to keep awake, okay? So that means that there's going to be a nice little project, 5 minutes, a little exercise for you to work on. Again, you just give me your best educated guess. This is not going to be a pop quiz or anything like that. It's just something to prove a point, okay? So again, if you get it, fine. If you don't get it, that's fine too, okay? So if you have, I gave you an index card. If you have a pen, good, pencil, good. If you don't have something to write with, sorry, old-fashioned here, find a friend, a partner, or somebody to say, hey, can I borrow your pen when the time comes, okay? Everybody good with that? And I do tend to move around the classroom. I am not one that stands at the podium and stays there. So please expect me to come around. I like to engage with my students, and I like for people to engage with me. And you know, if you have some questions or some comments, you can stop me. I'm good with that, okay? So I don't have to be all hardy-tardy with that. My students call me Dr. Mech, by the way. So, okay, so moving on here. How many of you have heard that artificial intelligence is going to take over everything? Everybody is like, okay. What was that?
Anyone who's seen Terminator.
Anyone who, that's kind of dating me there. The Terminator. Okay. The whole series of Terminator, what is it? iRobot, Bicentennial Man, there was AI, there's a whole bunch of newer ones that are out there. So anybody that has seen those, the set of movie in Hollywood has a way of making you go, ooh, but it's not just Hollywood right now. Look at some of the headlines that we have here, okay? The books that you see actually that I have up here, and I recommend for some good reading in your wonderful spare time, and yes, notice there's a computer scientist telling you to actually pick up a book that you might can find in the library. Imagine that library, okay? Or you can find the e-copy, okay, of this. But again, this is just a small subset of books that give cautionary tales about what could happen. And when I say tales, I don't mean that it's necessarily false. So I should say cautions that we should consider about what could happen as far as technology is concerned. Not just AI, but technology, okay? And you're seeing some of the headlines. I won't go through this because I know you can read. I also will not click these wonderful 60-minute reports. The reason that I have this for you is to show that before ChatGPT, there was some concerns, okay? I am kind of amazed that it is not the fact that in our government, we have a bill, an AI bill that says that they're interested in using machine learning technologies and AI technologies to prescribe medication, okay? That proposal was in 2021, okay? And I did not hear an uproar, okay? In like 2017, when we started having deep fakes, okay? Actually before 2017, and it was because I think it was like 2015, there were videos that were being passed around of our then president that was fake, okay? And it looked like he was talking and it was not him. And that did not cause an uproar, okay? It did not cause an uproar to know that you see Android prototypes such as Sophia that's going in and having nice conversations with each other about taking over the world. That did not cause an uproar, okay, or the type of uproar that we have. It takes a chat bot for everybody to go, oh my God, let us think about the social responsibility we need to do regarding AI. And I'm going, chatbots, we've been having chatbots since 1966. Why is ChatGPT now the catalyst? Now, I'm happy, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that we have that catalyst, but it causes you to think, why is this the thing that now is causing us to, angst, if you will, okay? I would like in your time here, so this 60 Minutes piece was in, let's see, I think this was 2019, and this is 2023, the more recent one. Kind of interesting, you know, just take some time to look at those two reports and do some comparisons of what's being said on that, okay? Also, take a look at what some people who are in this field, the experts in the field, are saying, what they're thinking about the 60 Minutes piece, and what they're saying about is spreading AI disinformation, okay? One of the things that people are taking aim at is the comment that researchers, programmers do not know what their algorithms are doing. And that's only a partial truth, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, I also have,
We may look on our
let's
time.
stop that and move this way. I have links for you to some other, again, emerging technologies. Again, not going to go through, because if I do go through all of this, we'll be here tonight and tomorrow night and the next night on that. But here's some links, again, that you can click on and check and see the different things that are out there. Some of you are thinking that that's only in sci-fi. Oh, no, we are kind of implementing quite a few of those things here. this Healthy Technology Act of 2023, I can hear someone say, did she not say that was introduced in 2021? Yes, it was. September of 2021 was the first incarnation, okay? And it did not pass, and then it got reintroduced. And this is the introduction for this year. So again, check that out. It has not, it's still in the, oh, guess which committee it's in? Anybody want to guess which committee it's in? Who stands the most to gain as far as money is concerned? Commerce, it's in the Commerce Committee, okay? Yeah. Okay, so please check out these links, especially this particular one here from Professor Shigeru. He's called the father of androids. One of the things that I want to point out here, that this particular colleague from Japan has been working on androids since 2005. He has an android that looks just like him, okay? And one of the things that you want to consider, remember I said, what you value is part of your creations. So how many of you think that this stool has a soul? Nobody thinks that this stool has a soul? Some of our colleagues in another culture think that everything has a soul. Now, a person who creates a machine, okay, who's coming from that culture that everything has a soul, they're not worried about whether or not it has a conscience. It's already so for them, and they create on that assumption, okay? If I don't think it has a soul, then I am creating on that assumption, okay? What happens when you're using a product that someone has created with that philosophy that it has a conscience and it has a soul? That means that it probably, if it's really thinking, is going to come to you as if, of course I am self-aware. And you're going to look at it, mm-hmm. So again, I think it's important for us to look and see not only what's going on in our immediate area, you know, in our institution, in our system, in our state, in our country. We need to see what's going on in other countries because we're using those products. Okay? So please check that out. I am going to move on to some other things that we have here. So first thing I guess we should always go with is the definition of AI, okay? And I can say to you, if you were to ask 2,000 different computer scientists, what is the definition of AI, you probably would get 2,200 different answers, because some of us will have multiple answers for that, okay? I'm giving you just a small sample as far as the definition is concerned. I think this is the one right here that is probably the simplest to digest, but at the same time, when you look at it, okay, it's the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. And here's the thing. Define intelligence. And again, I think if we ask each and every one of us to give a definition of intelligence, there will be some differences that we will, again, get into lots of debates about that. So again, the idea to know if AI, especially for AI technologies, is we make a definition. We say, here's the attributes that's considered to be intelligent, okay? We make it according to that definition, and then one day after we present it to someone, we probably follow Minsky over here. Once we understand it, it's not AI. We're coming with a new definition. Is everybody kind of? So my point of this slide right here is to impress upon you the fact that we don't really have a concrete definition. The definition differs, okay? And the definition changes, okay? We do have a definition as far as categories are concerned, okay? So we have narrow AI versus general AI. So your narrow AI is going to be, and this is where we are flourishing, software that uses AI technologies that focus on a very narrow problem, okay? We're going to talk about the example of maybe doing some recommendations as far as whether or not a loan is approved. Okay, that's narrow. Okay, maybe you're looking at my AI class working on creating a bot that's going to play intelligent Othello. Okay, it can play Othello. That does not mean it can play chess. Okay, of course we can make it extended to where it can play Othello and chess, but that is still very narrow. Okay, general AI is what you're seeing in the movies. Okay, we're still that's still a little far off for us. Okay, we're still working on that. Okay, intent and consciousness are considered to be important in those areas. So you would like for your bot to be working similar to, quote unquote, a human, okay? Being able to generalize in different domains, okay? That would be considered general AI. Does that kind of make sense to everyone on that, okay? So again, lots of advancements. So all of the advancements that you're hearing, it's really falling in that case of that category of narrow AI. Okay? So we have some other classifications. This is coming from a textbook that I am using in my class, okay? And that is definitely being one of the standards now that we keep saying that in terms of artificial intelligence, when you are looking at different articles, if you're doing a literature review, what you will find is that you can place each of those articles in one of these 4 categories. Okay? On the left side, notice that, so left side right here, act like a human, think like a human, golden standard of intelligence. Golden standard of intelligence, it's human. Okay? Either it's acting like a human, meaning I don't have to look and see what's going on under the cover, okay? It behaves like a human. It's intelligent, okay? Think like a human. Hey, yeah, you won that game. You won that chess game. I want to know how you did it. If you did it in a certain way, like humans would do it, then I'm going to consider it intelligent. If it's a process that's not behaving the same way that humans behave, you're not using the same process, not intelligent. Does that make sense to everybody? The first one, act like a human, treats that chess game as a black box, if you will, okay? You won against the chess master. How you won it, how you did it, don't care, okay? You won. You acted like a human. Okay, the camp that says think like a human, you won, tell me how you do it. Okay, let me explain game trees. Oh, I understand that. That's a little sleazy trick. That's not how humans do it. That's not intelligent. That would be the group of thinking like a human. Okay, the folks that are on the right side, or the papers that you're seeing that's on the right side, this would be the group that is saying, human intelligence is not the only intelligence out there. So is there some objective way that we can define intelligence, okay? So again, we're back to, hey, does it act rationally? I don't have to look under the cover and see how it's doing it, okay? But it's acting as an intelligent entity, okay? Therefore, this group of people say, hey, it's intelligent. The group of people that say think rationally, once again, they're looking at, A, there's again some objective way, okay? Does this work the way, is the process the same way that an intelligent entity would process these things? Are you doing that type of process? Then I consider the machine intelligent. Okay? So again, 4 different categories, human standard versus an idealized version. Does that kind of make sense to everyone? Okay. So, early on, 1950, okay, how many of you heard of Alan Turing? Okay. So, his paper, and he's one of the foundational papers as far as AI is concerned, okay? How many of you heard, you hear it all the time in the Hollywood movies, the Turing test. I mean, you're going, Let's explain how the Turing test works. The idea is you have a system, an entity, a technology that says, I want to be considered an intelligent entity. Okay? You have a human. You have a human interrogator. The interrogator cannot see the two competitors. Okay? The two competitors hidden in some rooms before. We also have communication set up to where you cannot do voice identification and tell whether or not you're talking to a human that way. Okay? So you have to go through a machine in order to communicate. Okay? The interrogator gets to ask questions of the two competitors. Okay? If the interrogator cannot determine which one is the AI entity, okay, the AI entity is considered intelligent. Okay. Is everybody with it? So you've got this test is saying, A, black box type thing, you acting like a human, I can't fool another human. Excuse me, I can fool another human, okay? You can't tell whether or not I'm human or not, I win. Okay? What do you like about that? What do we like about it is it is the first test that comes up with an objective measure, okay? That's saying, hi, this is how we can determine objectively whether this thing is intelligent or not, okay? Problem, one of the problems with this test, so it has some criticism, and one criticism is, whose intelligence are we measuring here? Are we really measuring the intelligence of these guys right here or of this guy right here? Okay? Because if this guy doesn't ask, if this human interrogator doesn't ask the correct questions, then maybe it's the human interrogator's fault. And I'll give you an example of that. So ELIZA was created in 1966. When in the 80s, when I was an undergrad, we would play around with ELIZA. And there were people who would just play around with ELIZA thinking that ELIZA was an actual psychiatrist. And you're going, come on, it's just taking whatever you type in, whatever string you type in, doing some manipulation and spitting it back out to you. That's all. So it's kind of like you could say hello and it comes back and says hello. And you could say, the sky is blue. And ELIZA would say, why is the sky blue? Which I guess you could make the argument that some psychiatrists do that to you. But again, it was the person who it would fool would be the ones who would not have the experience of playing around with the chatbot to recognize it for what it was. Does that kind of make sense to everybody on that? So one of the things that I have here, you can barely see it, is a link to Alan Turing's paper. In mentioning AI, okay, and machines intelligence, okay, Alan Turing has come up with all of these objections that you see, and you would notice for the past 73 years, those objections are still, you still hear them, okay? You still hear people say, it can't be AI because you don't want to play God, okay? God not going to let you do that, okay? You have people who will say, hey, Alan Turing called it the heads in the sand, AI will end humanity, okay? Every single one of these you have heard, some version of it, okay? I love the Lady Lovelace objection here. Computer can only do what it's been programmed to do, okay? And I love the fact that Alan Turing did honor in the 1950s to a female, naming this objection because she was, and we now honor her as the first programmer. Okay. But anyway, you're seeing these arguments right here. I would normally ask, hey, can you think of an argument against AI that's not listed up here? And the name of this talk, AI and algorithmic bias, I don't see bias there as a problem. So maybe we have found an argument that Turing did not mention. Now, I just gave Alan Turing, his props about naming this objection after the first programmer who is female, okay, and normally females are not getting their dues. But when you read this paper, here's the thing that people will not tell you about his test. If you read the first section in that paper, you will find out that test is based upon determining whether or not you can distinguish between a male and a female. Where it's female is one of the competitors, male is the other competitor. The interrogator is trying to determine whether or not you know which one is male and which one is female, which definitely goes through some stereotypes in that. So here we go. One of our foundational tests is based upon bias on that. And that is something that we don't discuss easily about that or point out. I will also point out that Alan Turing himself experienced much discrimination, okay, to the point of it caused him to commit suicide on that. He was gay in the 1950s in Britain. That was illegal. He was arrested, in prison for a moment, and some believe that his body was found next to an apple. Some people believe it was laced with cyanide on that. So again, we're talking about bias that has already been ingrained, even with one of the fathers of AI. Okay, or some will say fathers of computer science, whichever way you want to play that. Okay. Is everybody kind of just putting that out there? So, I want to stress to you, I am stressing to you, that AI is not only machine learning, and machine learning is not only AI, okay? Machine learning is definitely an AI domain, but I want to point out that it is crossing, not only computer science, it's crossing into economics, it's crossing with mathematics, it's crossing with psychiatry, psychology, it's crossing with biology. I mean, there's a whole bunch of disciplines that machine learning is, and it's an interdisciplinary discipline, let's put it that way. So it's not just computer science, it is not, AI is more than machine learning, okay? What machine learning is, it studies data to detect patterns, or it tries to figure out some rules that are there. And again, I could hear some people going, wait a minute, machine learning doesn't necessarily apply rules. It might be the way that you want to see it, okay? So it's not the traditional paradigm where I list a bunch of rules and then say, hey, go for it, okay? But there are rules that's being applied, okay? So here's the things that it can do. It can categorize people or things that are alike, predict outcomes, find patterns and relationships, and determine, okay, detect unexpected behaviors. Everybody kind of goes to list. Behold, I am giving you the glorious things that machine learning can do. I mean, we love to tell you, here's the benefits of this technology. Those that create the technology, we're all excited about that because no, it's not our intent to hurt the world. We're trying to benefit. We're trying to help society, right? So we give you what all that can be done. So let's give you right now an example of how machine learning can work, okay? So what I have here is a set of data. You don't know what the rules are, okay? You just have that there's this lender that we have, okay? And right now we're just going to make it approve loans based on two attributes, okay? We're going to have debt to income ratio, which is in percentage. So debt to income, amount of debt that you have divided by your income. Okay, everybody good with that? Okay. And you have your credit score. Okay. The lower your debt to income ratio is, okay, the lower the percentage, the better that attribute is for you. Everybody good with that? okay? The higher your credit score, the better that is for you, okay? So what you have from this company, from Sample Lender, okay, you have some cases, okay, that they've given you where they have said, yep, we're going to auto approve here. Those are your yeses there, okay? And then you have where they have said automatically no, okay? That's all you have. By the way, those of you that know that there's some other attributes, there's some other factors in, put that aside. You are only looking at this data and making decisions. So you are trying to come up with what is the criteria based on this data, such that that criteria will still cause this to match, okay? You will not change, in your training data, none of the cases will flip. So you will not change the data where you can say, well, yeah, I'm going to flip this to a yes, or I'm going to flip this to no. You've got to come up with criteria that is still going to match this. And then you apply it to data that's not in your training set. Okay, make an answer. So you have your nice little cards, okay? What I want you to do on the cards is I want you to write your criteria in one of these two formats. Either you're going to write it as DTI is less than or equal to some number and the credit score is greater than or equal to some number, or you're going to write DTI is less than some number and credit score is greater than some number. The difference here, I got non-computer scientists in the room, right? This is less than or equal to, okay? What was that?
I said it looked like a line of code, kind of.
It looks like a kind of, yes, it does look like it, but I'm just asking you to write, put some numbers here about what you think the company is using. I was trying to give you a format so that everybody can kind of stay in a particular format. Really, you could come up with some other criteria other than that format, okay? So, does everybody kind of does everyone understand the problem? So I want you to write down what you think the criteria is, okay? And then what you're going to do, just write the criteria on your card. Then we're going to look and see whether this is going to be yes or no, this is going to be yes or no, or this is going to be yes or no, okay? I should give you, let's see, I did this with one of my colleagues earlier today, and she had an answer within 3 minutes. So I should give you 5 minutes, right? Okay, cool? It's all good, okay? So there's some correct answers out there, okay? One of them, I see. Some of you got this on your card right now, okay? Look at the strategy that was used here, okay? The idea would be, hey, I am going to look at my yes cases, okay? And I'm going to pick the worst value for each attribute, okay? And then say that the criteria has to be better than that. So in this case, the yeses, the highest that you have as far as debt to income ratio is 35%. So we know that the DTI then must be less than or equal to 35%. Everybody see that? Okay. And with the credit score, the lowest credit score that you have with this is 600. Okay. Everybody seen that? Okay. Now, some of you are like, she just told me my answer is right, and it's not that. Okay. What is that telling you right now? Oh, wait a minute. There's more than one right answer, okay? And if there's more than one right answer, look at what's going to happen here, okay? So here, with this criteria, okay? Case number 1, we're rejecting. Everybody see it? Okay. Case number 2, reject. Okay, you don't get the loan. Okay. Case number 3, we're accepting. Okay, and so number 3 right here is happy. Okay. But wait, did you say? Hold on a minute. What I could do instead is look at the no cases, okay? Pick the best credit score first. So we're looking at the no's, okay? So we see the no's, that the best credit score that we got, right here. I'm sorry, best credit score that we got is the 700, right? Is everybody with me on that? 700, okay? 700 is really good, okay? So it's not the credit score that's getting them. It must be the DTI. So that means the DTI has to be lower than 41%, okay? Notice I put less than 41%. Some of you put less than 40%. And I think that what you did was just say, well, you just go one down. So you put less than or equal to 40%. But remember, this is a percentage, the real. So this one is going to be a little bit more generous, because if the person has 0.40999, this will catch it, okay? And it would be okay, okay? Whereas if you had less than 40, then that person with the 0.999 continuous is still going to be rejected, okay? Does that make sense on that? Okay, but again, it's a valid answer. It still would have fit for this. So what I said was find the best credit score among the no's, and then take its debt ratio and put that and say, well, the DTI must be lower than that, okay? Then look at the no's and take the best debt to income ratio, which is this guy right here. Got rejected. That's pretty doggone good, okay? So that means that the credit score is the problem. So that means the credit score has to be greater than this, okay? Now look what happens. Holy crap, okay? Person number one, we still rejecting you, okay? Person number three over here, we still accepting you. Person number two is like, I sure hope that this is the person who's doing my loan, okay? Is everybody trying to see? Notice the difference between the two strategies. And again, some of you if you got exactly what we have, one of these two, yay. If you got something that continue to work with this, yay, okay? Because then what happens is you're showing that there's even more answers, which there happens to be more answers out there, okay? But now let's just looking at these two things, okay? For the first strategy, that person is the strategy of, I'm not trying to be generous with this. I'm looking at how tight that lower bound is going to be by looking at the yeses, okay? The person with this strategy is going, you know what? I'm going to look at just what's going on with these poor people that got rejected and figure out what possibly could be rejected and make that interval of acceptance as wide as possible, okay? There's the lead way for bias. Does everybody see that? Okay. And you're going, oh, but, we're human, okay? That's our problem. You just simulated, though, what the computer does, or what the machine, what the algorithm will do, okay? You simulated that, right? We're human. We create these algorithms. Don't you think that we probably would embed that bias? And just to show you that, here is a wonderful link. I am not going to take time. I mean, Jazz and AI, we're going to explain how this works, okay? But for tonight, everyone, behold a neural network, okay? And for right now, let's look at this like a black box for a moment, okay? Here's the input, okay? I am saying that my loan program kind of looks a little like this, okay? So let's assume that this x-axis is going to be represented, let's say that this x-axis is going to be the DTI, okay? And the vertical is going to represent the credit score, okay? What's in orange? Reject, okay? What's in blue? Approval. Everybody good with that? Okay. These dots that you have are like the training data that we have. These are the cases, the known cases that we know about. Okay. Everybody good with that? Okay. Right here where there's not dots represent other people who are coming in. You're trying to find a function. You're trying to find that criteria, right? The neural network is trying to figure out what that criteria is that will say yes. So somebody who's like right here, that should be blue. Is everybody accepting that this corner probably should be blue? I mean, that's the extreme here. This is somebody with a high DTI and somebody that has a high credit score. We all accept that. Probably up here should be really blue, okay? And probably over here should be what? Okay? So I'm about to push the play button, okay, literally, and watch. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that lovely? Okay. Using this data, has said that people that are in this area right here are going to be accepted, and people who are in this area right here are going to be rejected. Everybody good with that? Okay. Looks reasonable, right? And look right here. It is showing. Look at my loss here. So it's measuring the error, so it's looking and making sure that with its training data that it's at 0, right? So that it's saying it's matching that training data perfectly, okay? And what it does is it takes its data, some of it is the training data, some of it is the test data with it, and it is saying that both with its training and with its test data, it's coming out 0. Perfect fit, right? Okay, everybody kind of happy with this? That's really cool, right? Let's redo it again. Remember what you saw, okay? Once again, test is it's acceptable, right? In the training, it's 0. With some of the test cases, you got that little 0.1 on it. Okay, yeah, it is. We'll say it's insignificant. But did you notice? Look at the line. There's a different slope. So once again, you have an interval of people that on one version of this is going to get a yes answer, and on another version of this is going to get a no answer. And just in case you think, well, that's just 2, how about we do it again? Everybody keeps seeing how that line keeps changing? Again, the group of people that are over here near this, it's going to be accurate, okay? The people over here that's near with this, it's going to be accurate. But the people right in here, as far as those lines are concerned, it's going to vary, okay? Now, some of you are going to go, I know what could solve this. What could solve this? What should I do to decrease the variance? Anybody? Oh, please don't be afraid. What can I do? Huh? I can't fail you. No, go ahead.
Try taking away some of the neurons.
Hold on with that right now, okay? I'll get into the notes on that, but let's just say that Jazz wants to play with the neurons right quick, okay? Jazz and other people are like, we don't know about these neurons yet, so I'm not trying to change the neurons. So this is just black box for right now, okay? What can I do in terms of this data to reduce the variance? What would you do? More data, and more data from where? Because look at this. All this data is clustered. My sample size is clustered, right, in these nice little globs, right? What I would need is some data from people that are like over here and over here, okay? I'm going to need more data that will help me distinguish what is going on in the set of lines that can separate these two clusters so that I can get fewer different answers, Okay? So in essence, what I am doing is I am doing different answers from certain people that are right here. And that's where our bias is coming in. That's one way our bias is coming in. Okay? Everybody still with that? Okay. Now, you're already seeing the algorithm giving you different answers. Now I'm going to go with Jazz and show you a case here. You think, oh, that's pretty cool, right? Well, yeah. Let's say that our lender is doing some pattern like this as far as approving loans and declining loans. Now, I hope that our lender's not really doing that, but let's say that they are, okay? Now, all the humans in the room are going, well, the answer should be, we should see blue spiraling right about in here, and then right in here it turns orange. You are expecting, and you should, you are expecting a lovely spiral alternating with blue and orange happening, okay? You are expecting this machine to learn that. Is that right? Everybody kind of, that's what you expected. And you've been listening to folks that say, this learns it without interference from the programmer, right? That this does not depend on the programmer. Watch what happens when I try to get this neural network that we have right here to learn this. Houston, we're having some troubles, okay? We can sit there for a while. Anybody see? It's trying, okay? Now, Jazz, what do you want to do? She wants to mess with the neurons, okay? So Jazz is saying, guess what? I'm a programmer. I want to add some more neurons here. As a matter of fact, I want to add another layer of neurons. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And Dr. Meck is saying, hey, you don't even just want to add neurons. You also want to change the way you are encoding the data that's going in, which is what's happening here. Okay? I am changing how the data goes into the neural network. Okay? And some other things that I can change too. I could change the learning rate and what have you, but right now I'm just going to change this. Did you not just see two programmers make some changes to this? You keep hearing that the machine learns on its own, but you just watch coders, programmers, whatever you want to call us, developers, okay? Designers of the neural network, whatever you want to label us, okay? You've just watched me, saw that this failed on this particular case. So what I did was change the structure, change the architecture of the neural network, okay? Change the way that I put the data in. And here we go. And we're struggling a little bit, but can you see that it's doing a better job now? Is everybody kind of with me on that? Okay. And to make it more interesting here, look at what's happening here. Everybody in the room is going, look like to me this should be blue, because I'm seeing blue data that's right here. So this should be blue. This certainly should be blue. And why is that not orange? Okay? Think about if this really was a method that was set up for loans, okay? And this was really the way that this was supposed to be happening here. Here's some bias that's happening against these people right here, who for no reason are being declined, okay? And the reason is, there is a reason. Remember what this is trying to do is it's using the whole plane, so to speak, okay? To get its training loss, to fit this data and get it down to zero. And if I have to make some other people happy, unhappy in order to make overall happiness happen, I will do that, okay? So I'm sorry, you've got to pay for the greater good, okay? So I will decline you so that I can accept more people over here. Now, if there's a whole category of people that's matching you, that might be a problem now, huh? Okay? Does everybody kind of see how this, and again, I am glossing over the details of the neural network. I'm just trying to show you how bias, unintentional bias can happen, okay? First of all, I had to select the right set of data that's representative of my problem, okay? Hopefully this data set does not represent loan approval. That's number one, okay? Over here, if I accept the right model as far as the data set is concerned, then I got to have enough of that data in different places. And it has to be not more data in this area. It's not more data, it's more representative data. Okay? Is everybody cool with that? And then, on top of it, I have to worry about how my input is encoded. Okay? So, I am going to go back over here. Do I have questions yet? Not yet. So here's the definition of algorithmic bias. Algorithms that make decisions that are systematically unfair to certain groups. And notice I said certain groups, usually arbitrary, of people. Okay? Might not be so arbitrary. Okay? And of course, there's a whole lot of literature that's out there, and that's been out there well before ChatGPT, okay, that talks about biases in algorithms. I mean, some of you have probably heard of weapons of math destruction, right? That's probably the most popular one that you've heard. I am not going to yank your chain and tell you that I've read all of these. I haven't. This one I have. Got it from the library. This one, there's an online version of it. So I've read that one. This one I've read pieces of. I've read parts of this one. I have not read these yet. Okay, cool. So, I really want to give you an example of algorithm bias in action here. So let me give you this wonderful piece here.
My heart smiles as I bask in their legacies, knowing their lives have altered many destinies. In her eyes, I see my mother's poise. In her face, I glimpse my auntie's grace. In this case of deja vu, a 19th century question comes into view. In a time when Sojourner Truth asked, "Ain't I a woman?"
These are facial recognition programs. Sojourner Truth, male.
Today we pose this question to new powers, making bets on artificial intelligence, hope towers. The Amazonians peek through windows blocking deep blues as faces increment scars. Old burns, new urns, collecting data chronicling our past, often forgetting to deal with gender, race, and class. Again I ask, ain't I a woman? Face by face the answers seem uncertain. Young and old, proud icons are dismissed. Can machines ever see my queens as I view them? Can machines ever see our grandmothers as we knew them? Ida B. Wells, data science pioneer, hanging facts, stacking stats on the lynching of humanity, teaching truths hidden in data, each entry and omission, a person worthy of respect. Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed, the first Black Congresswoman, but not the first to be misunderstood by machines well-versed in data-driven mistakes. Michelle Obama, unabashed and unafraid to wear her crown of history, yet her crown seems a mystery to systems unsure of her hair. A wig, a bouffant, a toupee, maybe not. Are there no words for our braids and our locks? Does relaxed hair and sunny skin make Oprah the first lady? Even for her face well known, some algorithms fault her, echoing sentiments that strong women are men. We laugh, celebrating the successes of our sisters with serena smiles. No label is worthy of our beauty.
So that's just one example. I have some other things. So you've got Amazon, who had to get rid of their recruiting tool because it was set up to favor men over women. And what was happening was it was assuming, it was putting in from the culture that it was in, that if you were in a women's studies program, that was somehow less desirable for the country. So it would look for anything, if you had on your resume something that said women, it would degrade the resume, downgrade the resume, and give it a lower score. Okay. Here's an article that talks about how word association is a way of echoing human prejudice. So that's another article that is saying that is definitely our own biases, human biases that are being embedded in our algorithms. Here's a presentation about how certain organizations get targeted with certain ads. So like if you have a sorority, it's going to get targeted with ads that are like shopping, shopping ads, things from Macy's or what have you. They have an example of a black fraternity getting ads, though, that was talking about getting legal advice for criminal activity that showed up on the website, okay? Or about giving ads for high interest credit cards, for that black, anything that was considered African American, it would go for high interest credit cards on that and advertise that. And this one right here is a system that was supposed to predict criminality, and it was definitely targeting African Americans as being more likely to be criminals on that. And so there's a whole study for that. Okay? So that when I hear of institutions using something like AI tools to do recruitment, I am, of course, concerned of what kind of biases that are there that will be against potential students as far as the institution is concerned on that. Because it's the same algorithms with the same problems. As far as source, we've already kind of talked about this. So sources of algorithm bias, the human bias, again, the creator, producer who's using it. If you have incomplete data, we've talked about that. Again, the idea would be you would have more data that's coming around in this area, right across this area right here, to bridge the gap and make it fewer lines of division between those two categories, okay? And also, this is not representative, we hope not anyway, for loan approval. So we definitely don't want to use the wrong data model in order to say, hey, this is the model for approving a loan or not, okay? In terms of source of machine bias, why are we surprised that technology is full of biases, okay? Look at who we recognize as the most influential in computer science. Look at who, okay? How many females you see up here? Okay. And by the way, if you go to that link, you will just get the list of names. I'm the one that went through and got the pictures and put the visual of the different folks out there. But again, if you're going to do list of names, then you would see definitely mostly male, okay? And again, because some of you would rightly say, wait a minute, that was just one website. Maybe the bias is just in that one website. So here's the Turing Award winners with ACM is one of the highest awards that you can get as far as computer science is concerned, especially if you are a member of ACM. Check out the Turing Award winners from 1966 to 2023. Very much a homogeneous group, okay? And again, when you put the pictures, you see it, okay? So what to do about it? So the idea is you can mitigate bias by producing frameworks, and this is one framework of many that's out there, but the main thing is you do not only consider benefits. I mean, again, that's the thing that we as developers love. We want to tell you this is what's so great about our technology. This is how it's going to help the world. We don't like to think about what the possible detriments are, but we have to, okay? So in this framework, you not only consider the benefits, you consider what are the extrinsic concerns are concerns that are tangible. It's going to take away jobs. You can measure that. Okay, how many jobs will be lost? That's something that's tangible that you can measure. It's going to affect the environment. Okay, you can measure how it's influencing, doing pollution. Okay, so you can measure that. Okay, intrinsic concerns are a little bit more fuzzy. Okay, intrinsic concern is going to be like, hey, you're trying to play God. Okay, I can't measure that. But that doesn't mean I should not be concerned about that. Hey, this doesn't have a soul, okay? Fine, okay? But the problem is I'm trying to put an object out there that's going to become an entity that's interacting with society. I have got to figure out how to make sure that it's interacting with a group of people that think that it doesn't have a soul and it doesn't have consciousness. And just from the example on that way, so that seems like it's taking shot at more conservative definitions. Let's go on the more liberal one, where I know what's best for society because I am smart. We have that ever-living, that false pride, that overconfidence, that hubris, that think that we know everything on that. That is definitely a concern that's on this side here. Okay, that it's intrinsic. I can't measure that. That's subjective, but it is still something that we got to know about putting into check on that. Okay, I'm solving the problem just because, and I believe me, I love solving problems just for the sake of solving problems. But if I have that going on with me, and I'm letting that overrule some of these other things, and I have to be intentional about putting that in check. Okay, who is empowered by this technology, okay? And who is disempowered, okay? Who does this benefit the most? And I've got to think, what are the groups that are not going to fare so well with this, or who do not have access to this technology, okay? How does this technology disrupt society? Okay, think about your cell phone. I can say to you, considering my age here, I did not foresee that the cell phone will disrupt as many industries as it has. I did not foresee that it would disrupt the Polaroid. I mean, some of us remember shaking the little pictures just to get the pictures out. The camera industry, or the camcorder. Or the GPS. I mean, my husband was talking about how he wanted to be a map creator one time. And sorry, that's just totally, is that a job anymore? Think about what has happened to AAA that used to do the little triptychs. You now have GPS. Why would you go to AAA now with that? Well, of course, forgive me, AAA. You have other products, I know. Okay, okay. And again, but after you think of all this, you've got to think about if we don't do this, what's the alternative on that, okay? So again, this is just one framework. I wish I had made it up. There's the source of that. There are other frameworks that are definitely more explicit that have come up, but they all have these elements in it, okay? So takeaways from the talk. Definition of AI is broad, okay? Success with narrow AI, we have far to go with general AI. Machine learning is not synonymous with AI. Machine learning is not infallible. Where's agreement bias, where it's coming from. And again, whether you intend or not, it reflects the values and biases of creators, producers, and users. And yeah, we do need to be prepared for a new culture that includes machines. Sorry, you can't get away from it. And we need to figure out ethical frameworks to mitigate our rhythmic bias. Okay. I went over time, I know. Okay.
For some questions?
I can answer questions. Hi.
I'm sure you've already heard of this. The robot that they are, I think it's NYPD, is releasing in the subways
What does it
or
do?
something. I'm not positive what it does. That's what I was going to ask you. I'm sure that there's going to be a bias to it. There's no way it wouldn't be.
I don't know
Right.
of it yet.
Oh,
Okay. So I don't know. You're
Okay.
like, I'm sure. Nope, I'm not sure. of
I
that,
saw
okay?
something about it recently that they're,
What did you see?
well, there's a police officer and this, it looks a lot like the Star Wars robot that I don't know the name of.
Just Stormtrooper?
No, the little one. Yeah, there you go.
It looks like BB-8, okay?
Um,
And what is this?
Similar, and they are going to put it in the subway system to help minimize crime, is all I really got from it. I didn't have a chance to read it further. So I know that is something,
I would be asking because of the experience that we have with the Compass program that we were talking about, how it's been trained to recognize suspects.
right.
I would be asking that. I would be asking what kind of data it's been fed. Because it will go. And there was an article that I was looking at that was saying, oh, we have to worry about the cost of fairness in terms of safety. And I'm like, no, you don't. There is no cost of that. But just the fact that you think that way says that there's a bias that's going on there with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know the specifics of that. Now I will be going to look that up.
Sure.
Thank you.
That was all my
Okay, other questions? Yeah.
So it's like, not to put you on the spot, but it's kind of more so for like UNCA, from what like I've noticed like in computer science classes, like you talked about like what can be done like to like prevent biases and like rewriting like algorithms and stuff like that, but like what can, I guess, like the computer science department do to like bring more awareness to this, because like my classes tend to look the same, if you know what I mean. And I've only like talked about this like with another professor who happened to be like a woman. So I only feel like the female professors only bring this topic up because it like affects us more, and like not just the women, but like women who are not white. So I know that's like a loaded question.
Here's the thing that to recognize. I know some people will term it as allies, some people will term people as co-conspirators. What I would say that number one, you're right, we do not need to put the burden of gender diversity squarely on those affected by the diversity, that it should be everyone, and everyone should recognize that. And the same thing in terms of racial diversity too, that it should not just be black people talking about diversity in terms of race, okay? It should not only be women talking about diversity in terms of gender, okay? It should not be the LGBTQ community only talking about those issues on that, the discrimination that's happening against them. It should not only be Asians talking about what's happening against them. It should be all of us, and we should recognize that. Now, how do you bring awareness? I can tell you. First of all, not to get weary about calling it out. So that's the first thing, okay? The second thing is to recognize that there are people that are trying and to acknowledge that, okay? I hate to say how slow it is, okay? I am encouraged that this is now getting into the curriculum. I am encouraged that ACM, which is the Association for Computer Machinery, it does a curriculum on that, and it has started to say that in the curriculum, you should, the way that they would put it is there should be courses that talk about ethics, and there should be courses, every course should ingrain some element of ethics in it. Now, trying to convince people that that is part of academic excellence, that's a matter of trying to change people's heart. I can mandate, hardcore rules, but I cannot mandate a heart change. And the other part of it is to recognize, and this is something that we have to acknowledge, that not every female is going to feel the same way. I mean, and not every, there are quite a few African Americans who support white supremacy because they actually do believe that white is supreme on that. And that has been part of brainwashing that's happening on that, just like there are women who believe that they should be submissive to men. We have to acknowledge that, okay? Which is why one of the things that I would say that we have to be careful with of just saying that I just need the visual of having females in the room. You need to have people in the room that's dedicated to diversity regardless of their gender. And you need to have people in the room that's dedicated regardless of their race or regardless of their identity. Does that? That
Sorry,
probably doesn't help.
Well, you explained it well, so I'm sorry, that was a loaded question.
I'm all about the loaded questions on it. But again, one of the things that I found myself having to do is sometimes I say, and I think I might have done it in this presentation, said, you guys. Notice that, why did I use the word you guys instead of you all on that? So even within myself, having to make sure that I am not perpetuating stereotypes. When I notice the people who I put, and it was intentional, the definitions that I put up first, did you catch it? They're all men, okay, because they're all fathers. Why not find the definitions by females and having to make sure that you put that in front of folks on that? So yes, there's an intention. You notice that you start seeing some of the females in terms of the person with the playground. You would notice that that particular person had already started talking about the fallacies as far as the machine learning was concerned. Okay? Now, again, she was female bringing that up, but yeah. Just to put it out there, the person who wrote Human Reason, Computers and Human Reason, is the person who created, he's one of the fathers of AI. He created ELIZA, the chatbot that I was talking about. In his book, he was bringing up, he didn't call it bias, that was not his terminology, okay? But he did warn about discrimination against groups of people, and he was ostracized for it. So again, even those that are allies will pay prices for being that advocate and being that supporter. I think I saw.
Yeah. Okay, my question was, what do you feel about, so I have like, we're talking about AI in another class, and I was interested in like some like, science implications of it because it's supposed to be a different like subject combined with AI to talk about. And I was like, what do you feel about like the moral implications of mental health screening using AI? Because that's a big one.
So I'm going to answer this way. I do not think that AI should be used or any technology should be used to make decisions. I think that the technology should be used as an advisor, okay? I am not a mental health specialist, okay? But now I'm making a program without that expertise, okay? Let's say that you are a mental health specialist, okay? But you don't know how to program. Somewhere in the communication between the two of us, there's a loss that's happening. What you're communicating to me depends on my understanding in order to get it as far as the machine. We can go all day about, oh, you're not making the rules, but I have to know enough to ask you about the test cases to put in there. And I don't think I know enough about your domain to really know about the test cases that are supposed to be there and to interpret it so that it could be in the right format as far as my machine learning algorithms are concerned. Mm-hmm. I would list that as a fallacy.
Yeah, I've
Yes.
like read so many, like, because I have to go like try to do like a political to read, and I've like come across the ones that I'm like, this is a little bit strangely dystopian and too optimistic for me about it. Like one of them was about surveilling social media like use for signs of like psychosis, and I was like, that would be like the worst thing to do to someone that has schizophrenia, like to surveil their content.
And
Yeah, so I don't know, yeah,
but
yeah, too much.
I am saying again that I would say to any group of people that's trying to use that technology that they really should ask questions about how and really understand how the technology was trained and where those test cases are coming from, how it's encoded. And really, I don't think anybody should be using the technology. I repeat, they should be using the technology maybe as advising, but not as a deciding, no. That's my opinion.
I'm good with that.
Okay. And I think there's a number of people that will understand that. But remember, we always are balancing between money. I would point out, Jazz, about what you were saying here. You were talking about your computer science class is mostly male, and it is. But look at this class. And look at what's happening with what we would say. An AI technology would take these classes, okay, and take this data, and it would recommend this class to females and recommend computer science classes to males. So it will propagate the biases that we have. Okay. Question, why are you all not in? Like, why are you not all taking a computer science class? Why? You're male saying it's too much math. What are the rest of you saying? And if it is too much math, why are you afraid of math? Are you afraid of math because you're genuinely afraid of math, or are you afraid of math because you've been socialized to be afraid of math? Is that what the society has done? Okay. And the same thing about why are the men not rushing to get into this class? Okay. Because there's a bias for men taking a women's studies class, and that's society. Okay, it's societal. And what will happen is, again, if I take in these classes, okay, feed it into my neural network, it's going to learn that bias. And it's just going to be propagating what's already in us, or what we have already been trained to believe. So if you ask me, should you be afraid of the machines? I am going to say what we should be afraid of is not the algorithms and the machines. We should be afraid of us, okay, the humans, okay? We should be afraid that those of us that create and use, produce these algorithms are doing it not for the welfare of everyone, but maybe for self-benefit. Okay? And we should be afraid that we do not have the courage to speak up about it, or to think that we don't even have power on that. We should be afraid that we are relinquishing our power. We already see that we are relinquishing our power and our authority to other humans. Okay? You know, they're just like, oh, trust me. Okay? Well, I'm not supposed to trust you. I'm supposed to know for myself. I'm looking at your actions here, and I see you not trustworthy. You got to earn my trust, okay? But we are too willing because it's so easy. You take care of this for me, okay? I trust you, okay? I just relinquish all of my power and authority to you. If I do that, okay, and society easily does it, and we're trained to do that, why are we surprised then that we will do the same thing as far as any algorithm that you make? So to me, and now I'm not saying that damage can't be done. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the cause of the damage is still human. So on that happy note, are there other questions? Nope. Yeah, I went over.
It's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to have a good conversation about this after our break and connect to our readings and topics of the night. If I could just do more harm than good or marginalize them.
you.